In an exclusive conversation with the Times Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has raised certain issues related to the Congress Manifesto, saying that Congress party wants to give reservations to particularly to Muslim community. And to talk about this matter more, we have been joined by the senior Congress leader and the former Union Minister Salman Khurshid with us. Sir, once again, the Prime Minister has made certain allegations. He said that it is being mentioned in the Congress Manifesto that reservation will be given to the Muslim community. Not just this, but he has also talked about the inheritance law, that the Congress party is committed to implement inheritance law in this country.
What do you want me to react to? The Prime Minister's remarkable imagination, or, with great respect, his deliberate failure to understand the truth? What do I react to, honestly? Now, if there is an issue here about reservations for Muslims, forget about reservations for Muslims. Forget about reservations for anyone, whether it's Christians or Jains or Buddhists, minority or majority. Let us be clear that the Indian Constitution doesn't permit reservations on grounds of religion. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is not an issue today. But we took this view in the earlier years of the Constitution when we said we can't give reservations on grounds of religion. It could only be given on grounds of social and educational backwardness. Now, social and educational backwardness takes you to Mandal Commission. Mandal Commission listed people who could get reservations, and in that are all educationally and socially backward people, all, irrespective of religion. So, if you don't have religion to include a person, you don't have religion to exclude a person either. Right? I don't know whether he understands this or not. And in that list of backwards that Mandal Commission has given, there are other communities other than Hindu communities. Take an example. The majority community has a, let us say, a washerman, a dhobi, who is treated on the basis of findings of commissions, who's treated as a backward. And there is a person from a minority community who is a dhobi, who is also treated as a backward. So he's included because backwards are included, not because Hindus and Muslims are included. That's the clear position. And anybody who does not accept this either is denying and defying several decades of jurisprudence of the Supreme Court, or they are just deliberately misleading. I don't want to use the word misleading for the Prime Minister because he's the Prime Minister of the country, and obviously we at least believe he's the Prime Minister of the country. I don't know what he believes in, but we believe that he's the Prime Minister of all people. But this is absolutely clear. There are no doubts about this at all of any kind. The second question you asked me was about inheritance law. Now, there was an inheritance law in this country. There was a special restriction on transferring property that you make or money that you make in your life to your children. That there is only a certain percentage of which could go to your children and the rest had to be taken by the government. Now, this law was considered to be very tedious, was considered to be not that much in the public interest. For whatever reason, this law was brought to an end. And there was a great sense of relief. You know, the Indian mind is not like the European mind. In Europe, the inheritance tax is not a major issue. But in the Indian mind, what you make in your life is supposed to be almost like it's held on trust for your children, for your progeny, and that you would hand over. And this is a cultural matter, and this is a social matter that people take very seriously. So therefore, it was the Congress government under Mr. Rajiv Gandhi who abolished inheritance tax, and therefore it went during the Congress government. And you know, anything that Mr. Rajiv Gandhi did is held in high esteem by the Congress party. But it's strange that Mr. Modi has also said that this was done for Mr. Gandhi to be able to get the property and the money of Mrs. Indira Gandhi. So in one way, he is saying that it's correct that the inheritance tax was abolished by the Congress, but then he's also attributing a very narrow reason for it. But it may be a narrow reason, it may be a broad reason, it may be a correct reason, it may be a wrong reason. But he's admitting that Congress is what abolished it. So at least he should explain, if Congress has abolished it, why will Congress put it back? As far as the manifesto is concerned, unless there are invisible parts of the manifesto that only he can read, I certainly can't read. There is no such thing said in the manifesto, and anything said anywhere in the world by anyone who may be very dear to us and very, very important to us. But if they have said it in a context of the US or UK or Europe or Western context, it doesn't automatically apply to the Indian context, and it's certainly not part of the manifesto if that's what has been said by the Prime Minister.
Sir, in fact, when he was talking about the reservation to Muslims, he said, when he was being asked that there is an image of Prime Minister Narendra Modi that he is against Muslims, he said that I am not against Muslims, it's just that I want social welfare, and this reservation should be given to each and every community, not just particular to one community.
It's not given to one community. It's not given to one community, and he may have forgotten that it is given to each and every community now to the extent of 10%, because the economic weaker sections have been included. And there's a complaint there that the economic weaker sections have excluded all the OBCs from the economic weaker section, and they should also have got. So they would have got their own 27%, and then they would get part of the 10% that has come. So these are various thoughts and ideas that people have different opinions on, but no community, as I said, is picked up to be the community to which there is a reservation, unless that community is educationally, socially backward. And if it's educationally, socially backward, then it is covered by the Mandal Commission. Now, if the Mandal Commission is being repudiated, if it's being repudiated by the Prime Minister and his party, then they should come out in the open and talk about Mandal Commission being hogwash. But I'm sorry, I don't think they'll have the courage to say that, nor would it be correct for them to say that.
But sir, he has alleged that this is basically Congress party which is trying to spread misinformation against Prime Minister, and they are trying, Congress is trying to create such an image that Prime Minister is against the Muslim community.
Forget about who he is against. If he's against somebody, then he should have the courage to come out and say, I'm against these people. He should come out and say that I'm against these people. Why would Congress say anything? Have I said anything here which accuses him of or points to him saying something which is for or against Muslims? I'm saying Muslims are irrelevant to this. It's only backwards. If Muslims are amongst backwards, they would figure. If they are not amongst backward, they will not figure. Now, in Muslims, for instance, in Andhra Pradesh, the unified Andhra Pradesh, there were communities that were treated after the commission gave a verdict. There were communities that were treated as being backward, and they are protected by the Supreme Court, and that backward interim order of the Supreme Court protects backward reservations. And many people who otherwise fall amongst minority categories, etc., have got benefit because of that, but not because they happen to be of a particular religion, but entirely because they happen to be backwards, like all backwards of all religions. But nobody gets this reservation because they happen to belong to a particular community, minority or majority.
So not just this, but the Prime Minister has also claimed that even the external forces are trying to influence the elections in our country, which shouldn't be done.
Oh yes. Where is he picking up his script from? Is he picking up his script from Trump or from President Biden, or is he picking up the script from Canada, or he's picking up some? Because frankly, it's a very dangerous area to pick up scripts from there, because some of their scripts are not very palatable to us. So, in fact, we are very careful. The Congress Party has been very careful about joining your voice with any voice that you hear in the West that questions India's motives. We've always said that once we leave the Indian territory and we come abroad, it must be very clear that we stand with the government, even if it's a government that we don't like here in this country. Even then, we can't be joining voices with somebody who happens to be of another country. And I think he should be grateful to us for this. We don't wash dirty linen abroad. He should be grateful to us for this.
Sir, in fact, when this was asked from Prime Minister that two of the CMs had got arrested, and not just this, but also some allegations are being leveled against PM and the ruling BJP, that there is a misuse of the agencies. For that matter, now Prime Minister has replied by saying that the opposition parties are basically rattled because he is trying to end loot in the country. The agencies are doing the right thing.
Absolutely, that's what he says. He would just sweeten this little conversation of his by giving us a list of people who are in the BJP who've been picked up by the same agencies. Then we would have greater faith in the agencies, saying that they're doing it irrespective of which party it is. But we worked very hard looking for one name from the BJP. But forget about the name from BJP. BJP has always been very clear, very clean, and therefore you can't get a person from the BJP who comes in, who gets into trouble with the ED and other agencies. Why don't you just point out to people who've gone from the Congress or from other parties and have suddenly had their cases dropped, or that you don't hear about the cases at all once they go from the Congress or one of the other opposition parties to the BJP. So if you would only show us one such person, it could also be letting down somebody that you had promised a very green pasture to, and that person would scream and shout, but nobody would listen. But at least point out one such person. Then there may be a little more modicum of trust in what you're saying.
Sir, in fact, he said that when there was Jawaharlal Nehru's regime in the country, or Indira Gandhi, that was the time when there was dictatorship, as Jawaharlal Nehru was the first person who made an amendment in the constitution. He also mentioned about the emergency era during Indira Gandhi's tenure, but he said that at the current regime there is the democracy in the country, because I am enduring the gali which the opposition is making each and every day against him.
Oh gosh, why don't you ask your colleagues in the media how many get rounded up if they say something against the Prime Minister or the government? How many get rounded up? How many people have to go to the Supreme Court and get relief from the Supreme Court? Just please, any stand-up comedian, how many of them have had their meetings cancelled in Bangalore or wherever it is? So don't ask us about this. Ask your own colleagues, as long as you don't distinguish yourself from some colleagues who happen to have got into trouble and those who haven't got into trouble. So just pick up anybody. If somebody is a journalist or a stand-up comedian, surely if you ask them how they have been treated under this government, it'll all become clear. And who's a dictator and who's not a dictator, who had dictatorship in the country, and who wanted to wreck the constitution. It's something that doesn't wash really, because you need to justify it on facts, and I think the facts speak something else.
One last question I would like to ask, sir. While speaking about the Prajwal Revanna case, Prime Minister said that strongest action needs to be taken against the culprit, but he has also turned the table by saying that this is basically the responsibility of Karnataka government, why they had allowed Prajwal Revanna to flee from the country. So that is the question which he is raising against the Karnataka.
Thank you very much. So now we know on the authority of the Prime Minister that at the border we don't have border control anymore, that it's all been given to state governments, right? So wherever the border is between us and some country abroad, but the border control is now not with the immigration people, the border control is not with Indian customs, the border is now with the state governments. So how many state governments will I have to encounter when I come back from abroad next time? Will there be a customs person from each state? Will there be an immigration guy from each state? And whose policies will they apply? Will they apply policies of their own state, or will they apply policies of central government? So it's getting a little difficult to accept these things being said.
Thank you so much, sir. So that was the senior Congress leader Salman Khurshid speaking exclusively to Times Now regarding the Prime Minister's interview, in which he said that Prime Minister should first prove whatever allegations he is making against the Congress party and its manifesto, as there is no mention about giving a reservation on the basis of religion to one particular community, what the PM is alleging against the Congress party. With video journalist Kamal Kant, this is Nyamka Singh for Times Group.